So this video is going to be, I guess you can say, controversial with where my opinions or where I take this review. Just saying that it can be a start of a conversation to be had and actually be taken seriously and actually be something to address. I'm not here to push anybody and to make anybody feel either terrible, awful, or to not justify what this movie is saying. I'm just saying that this video, even who knows, it may not get a lot of traction, but still, I'm just gonna say it'll start something. Warfare is directed and written by Mendoza and Alex Garland. The film has an ensemble cast that includes Woon-A-Tai, Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, Kit Connor, Finn Bennett, Joseph Quinn, Charles Melton, Noah Centineo, and Michael Gandolfini. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, a platoon of Navy SEALs embark on a dangerous mission in Ramadi, Iraq, with the chaos and brotherhood of war retold through their memories of the events. War films tend to bring out a lot of emotions and pretty much conversations to be had when it comes to the wars itself, how it started, how it is contextualized of today, and how we will kind of examining or at the very end kind of telling this particular war going on in the future. Whether it be movies like Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Lone Survivor, or 1917, films that depict war showcase the brutality and trauma that comes with the conflict, regardless on stance that these movies have. Cannot deny there is a bit of brutality and the trauma that comes with any sort of war that is involved. In recent years, the conversation surrounding the war in the Middle East, or if you know what it is, really the war on terror that happened from 2001 to up until I think like what 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can let me know. But when that war started, or even further back, you can even throw in like Desert Storm, has been met with backlash and controversy, whether it be looking at how this all escalated, how we got involved, how a lot of people involved in this conflict were ultimately killed and murdered through this war. Point is that a war like this, it's going to be kind of seen in this context going forward with regards to examining it, because we're no longer in this state of just want to get back at them. It is more so just what did it mean in the end. But in the middle of this, war veteran Ray Mendoza and director and writer Alex Garland have now teamed up to tell the story of Mendoza and his platoon, including his friend Elliot Miller, who this film is in some way dedicated. Not that he has passed away or anything like that, who died in the conflict. He was injured, lost a leg, and lost his voice as they encountered heavy attacks in Ramadi, Iraq. Now, having watched this film, I knew I was kind of getting into something that could be considered controversial and very much, in a way, seen as me supporting something that could be seen as humanizing, especially something that has to deal with a conflict like this. Everything about this was intense, detailed, and brutal. There is no denying that, how this movie portrays it, of what war is. However, say this, guys, however, there are actual criticisms that I do have about this film that I cannot, in my good conscience, just ignore. I will give this movie this. There is some stuff about this movie that I cannot deny and I cannot just ignore or just lie about. I have to be honest, and I always am honest with my reviews, you guys. I really am. I don't try to skew anybody into feeling one way or another. I'm just giving you just my takes. That is all. You can choose whatever you want to do, what you feel is right. I'm just telling you what I got out of this movie and what I felt. So before discussing those issues, let me just talk about the positives that I have. The performances are all incredible. Everybody brings the tension and serious nature of what this conflict is, and props to the actors for going through boot camp training to make the fights and movements feel as authentic as they can be. If there's one thing I can always give performers, and especially the actors involved in this film, is that they always want to make sure that they are doing justice with regards to how soldiers move, how they feel, how they talk and how they act in these awkward situations. Now, we can have a discussion on those things, but I'm just saying, for the sake of this movie, the acting and everyone involved in this were amazing. They acted how they were, and I was surprised on how much this film tries to, at the very least, showcase how the military operates in terms of soldiers move and how they engage conflicts. If there's one thing to not deny, is that direction is fantastic. Directors Mendoza and Garland showcase the intensity and horrifying tone of conflict and the near-death experience that they faced, making sure that every detail is right. I gotta give credit to Mendoza and Garland on this. How they approach this is making sure that it feels as raw and as gritty as it can and as scary as it can. If there is one thing to take away from this movie, is that both of these men did an excellent job of providing that sort of engagement with the movie, and they deserve at least props in that department and how they went about conveying this event that happened. The cinematography is atmospheric. Cinematographer David J. Thompson captures the grounded and scary feelings that soldiers face in conflict, or showing what they do when they're not engaged in conflict, showing how war can go from being silent to loud in seconds. It all depends, really. But David J. Thompson did an amazing job of making sure that this movie didn't go as big as and bombastic as usually sometimes war movies can be, but making it feel personal, making it feel as grounded as it can, to making sure that it always follows the actors in frame, making sure all their movements feel in line with what they are supposed to do and how they are effective of doing it. And he does that very well in capturing it all. I cannot deny, it does look really gorgeous. It is a really beautiful looking film in terms of the simplicity of being shot in a house. And for the film to capture it all in that style, it felt really intense in that regard. The production is amazing. Sticking to being authentic, the crew members made sure that the sets, costumes, and props were close to how the soldiers remembered it. The sound design as well is perfect on how it was executed. If there is one thing I gotta give this movie credit, the sound design in this is amazing, fantastic. Like, I cannot lie about that. How the gunfire feels, how the explosions feel, even when explosions do go off, how everything feels muddled and you can't really hear anything, is incredible on that level. But really, the production crew did everything right with regards to making sure that everything felt like how it was from that event. Mendoza made sure that everything was detailed and everything was done well enough to where it felt like this was the actual event that happened. The pacing runtime is impressive. Every scene felt fluent and never let up. With a runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes, I was surprised that it all wraps up in that amount of time. Usually, a lot of war movies tend to be 2 hours or even longer. This was 1 hour and 35 minutes. That's pretty impressive for a war movie to tell its story all within that confined area. And it's amazing to see a film like this be able to quickly tell its story as it can, but not feel like it's rushing. It feels like it is always progressing as it goes along. The action is intense. Every gunfight comes off as real and terrifying when it breaks out, easily becoming, at least to me, the most authentic war combat to date that I've seen. Now, so many people can argue about that. I'm just telling you from what I saw, and usually how I've seen sometimes videos of the military soldiers, how they moved, how they walk, and how they do formations. This felt real. In terms of how the actors got that down, and the veteran consultants on this film, with Mendoza's help, they made sure that everything felt how the military operates. There's one thing I cannot deny, it's that they managed to nail that down. The writing is solid. Both Mendoza and Garland crafts a script that feels natural and real in conversations or even in those said gunfights. It all comes off as faithful to what those soldiers talked about. Now, sure, it could be seen as military jargon, but even still, there is an authenticity to that. There is an authenticity to how these soldiers talk, how they act, especially when they're on their downtime. It does feel real. At least from what I was watching, I did think to myself, yeah, this could happen, and how the soldiers were engaging with one another, whether it be through the radio, through command, or just to one another when they are just chilling and being bored. And I think that is, I give props, is that, yeah, regardless on what this movie is saying, we'll get to that, the script itself, I think, does fit with what the movie is. The editing is on point. Every scene feels natural and connected into each frame. It all just felt right. Never once did it mess up or become sloppy. It all felt natural and it all felt like how it was supposed to be. Though technical and acting aspect are top notch, I cannot deny that. As much as people want me to say on how much this movie could be to some bad, I'm just telling you, being honest, I think it is very much top notch. There are some issues that I take as being problem, okay, and some that might be angered by what I might say. I'm not going to be angry, I'm just going to tell you what they are. So here are now the negatives. The story, to make this clear, before anybody jumps on me and just says something, just hear me when I say this, is out of date. While this is a real event and the soldiers were doing what they were trained to do, following orders, I get it. Nobody today looks back on this conflict or time as something to be proud of. And really, not unless you're somebody who is a pro military person. If you are somebody who is in the military, who supports the military, regardless of what it is, you'll probably like this movie. I'm just saying for myself, a movie like this would have flew by back then. Like, this would have been a movie that would have been widely acclaimed. Nobody would ever bash an eye about it. And even those who did have criticisms, they would silence those who didn't like what the movie is depicting the conflict of. But honestly, you guys, in today's day and age, this is a real event that, let's be honest, is not something that a lot of people are going to be really getting behind. I don't see myself really getting behind what these soldiers did 100% and what this conflict results in. Because to be honest, I'm somebody who has an issue with how this war was. I grew up in this era. I've heard news and other media outlets, even at the time, even when I was a kid, even if I didn't 100% understand it or I was just going along with what everyone was saying, now being older and understanding a little bit more of what this conflict was and what it represented, I'm going to be honest, I can't just sit here and just act like this conflict means something. And for this story to kind of be another one that is focusing on just American soldiers. As much as I understand that this is centered on them, at the same time, it does itself a disservice by not really talking serious about not just this conflict, but questioning the things about what this war meant. And speaking of which, the social commentary, if you ask me, is nowhere. The film's commentary on brotherhood and bravery, to me, in this day and age, it's just one note. That's all it is to me. And I think a lot of people would agree. Like, that's just not enough of an excuse for what this movie is trying to potentially say. But really, no one talks about our government's involvement or questioning our leaders or their policies that they implement at the time. You just kind of went along with it. And people that did criticize it, they were shunned. They were discredited. And really, all this movie is just saying is war is hell. That's all it is. That's all this movie is just coming across as. And that is something that, if you ask me, as much as I understand that people have family members who are in the military who probably served in this war, you cannot deny that there needs to be a conversation to be had with regards to this conflict and this issue that needs to be addressed and to actually be talked about in discussing the problems with this said conflict. I respect the film from a technical level and acting level. I cannot deny that. But I cannot just be blindsided to how much this is propaganda. Okay, it is for the U.S. military. This is all in service of knowing that these soldiers, I understand, went through terrible traumatic events. However, if you ask me, though, it doesn't justify the total amount of destruction that our government has kind of done to the people of Afghanistan or Iraq, if you were to ask me. In a day and age where we should be questioning our leadership and our military, even, this just kind of ignores all of that to be more pro-US. That's all it is at the end of the day, if you ask me. I'm not here to judge anyone with regards to if they are all about that. I'm just telling you that's what it is. It's all being proud of being the United States. And for me, I respect most of this, but I cannot, in good conscience, for the story and the social commentary, respect all of it. Because I can't. I cannot just lie about you guys. I have to be as honest as I can be, and sure, maybe some people may think that I've never experienced war. You're right, I haven't. But I also can't just ignore it, can't just brush it under the rug, can't just deny it. I have to express to you guys how I feel about these things, especially if it's something that is serious, as this movie is trying to depict this event. I am going to give Warfare an 8 out of 10. I don't think this movie is terrible in any ways. I think it is great in terms of its technical level and its filmmaking standpoint, but as a film that has to depict a event like this, if you were to ask me if it was relying on just its story as well as the social commentary, if none of the filmmaking didn't work, this wouldn't fly by with me. But because the filmmaking did save this, I cannot just sit here and deny that I do praise the aspects of it. But for its story and its commentary, I can't support it in good conscience with the idea of, yeah, this is an amazing, fantastic film. It's just a great film on those merits, but on a story and commentary level, not really. So I will be doing a review for Sinners soon, and then the accountant leading up to the accountant 2. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other reviews coming soon.